Well, it's live time. I'm waiting on Mike still, but I just have a couple things that is probably just as good to talk about because in this very wonderful season of all these things happened at the same time, it's pretty clear that dad is very near his he needs to go to a nursing home. It's pretty clear that that is happening probably this week. I mean, that's how much he's gone down and just how. There's Mike. Let's get him on here. How are you, Mike? Good. On the day before your 63rd birthday or 64th birthday, that's how you ought to be.
I think I'm about ready to make some changes. I'm not sure if people want to see me on whatever this is called, a video cast. They're gonna have to find me somewhere else because it's I just nobody gets a hold of me. But we're online. We can talk about that. I mean, it's
Okay.
yeah, it's
I'm telling you though,
my
everything
well,
else,
uh,
this thing is making a difference.
I don't think so. I My dad, he'd work towards something, and that's what he worked toward. And if he thought wasn't happening, then he changed and went a different direction. Uh, I know I'm meeting a lot of people, but I'm just a guy at 4 o'clock of a day that people see,
I
laugh at.
disagree completely, but we could talk about all that later. I want to spend a minute talking about your dad and my dad
Okay,
because my dad is probably going in the nursing home this week, and so I just want to take some time and talk about the relationship between Bob Wiley and Gray Reed. What a fun guy that guy was.
well, your dad was the local guy in town that was the attorney, lawyer.
Right?
I
Uh,
mean, it's not every town that has somebody like that hanging out. And
right.
it's they're doing business, and it's not every town that has two new car dealerships in
Right.
a
Definitely.
town of 1,000 people.
Right.
And so, actually, the city of Crane had a lot of professional
For the
people, business,
size of the town, definitely a lot of stuff.
big time. It did, and it was, and yeah, my dad and your dad, Bob. I mean, they were pretty close. I mean, I don't
They
know.
really were.
I don't know all the stuff, but I know numerous times where Dad would call up Bob. Hey, Bob, I need you to check into something for me here.
Well, not only
Okay.
that, I just remember my childhood. I remember that every maybe year or so, someone would drive up. It'd be Ray Reed in a new Cadillac or used Cadillac or whatever to drop off at the house for Dad to decide he liked. He always liked him, and that was the ritual. That's what he did. That's how this stuff got happening.
Yeah, it was your dad and Glenn, the banker,
Yeah,
the major guy at the bank, and I mean, you had everybody that worked. You had my dad had Ray Reed Chevrolet, Bill Jenkins had Bill Jenkins Ford,
right.
but everybody was pretty close in the town. Although I think my dad and his circle of people were much closer and much more business. I mean, my dad went from that to Joy Johnson at the gas station to Teresa White at the gas station. I
Right.
mean, these are all people, that were calling Dad all the time. Hey, we need this or we need some help or
Right.
tell us what you think. Uh, my dad, Raymond Lauer, had a big meat plant, the Hickory House at Crane, and he
Uh,
did several other businesses. But yeah, they were. We moved there, and my dad took over the Chevrolet, and he pretty much instantly just fit right in because of the other people that I've talked about. They all took him under their arms and welcomed him there.
they
And
definitely.
my dad was likable. Pretty much everybody. he was kind of like when you leave reviews on something. The only people that didn't like him was somebody that had
Yes,
a bad experience
no
through
doubt.
themselves and wanted to blame it on anybody and everybody
Right.
else. So, and yeah, it was, and he is involved in everything. And him and my mom up by Lake of the Ozarks, we had a basketball game one time, and they got hit coming over a hill by a concrete mixer truck, and
Oh
it knocked
gosh.
over an embankment.
Right.
They had to go to the hospital, but they released them, and they got back to Crane probably 10 minutes before the game started. And everybody was standing, giving them like a standing ovation when they come walking in. And my dad
Right.
was all beat up and bruised, but they were like, "Man, we almost didn't think we could start the game without you being here." And that's just the way the whole town was. Yeah, like my dad and your dad, and we just lived. You know, you lived
Yeah,
at the bottom of the hill, and I lived up on top of the hill.
that's right.
And you know that big hill that went up to my house.
Right.
Me and the Shiveleys,
Oh
David
yeah.
and David's passed away now, but David and Chuck and
Right.
we were kids. We decided we'd build go-karts out of wood and take a over and go down to the hardware store and put some little lawnmower tires on it.
Right.
And we built one that had sides and it had a top that you get down in it and the top shut on top of you. And you steered it with your feet. Well, Chuck Shively, we talked him into getting in that thing, and then we pushed it out on the road at the top of the hill, at that big hill. And we told him he was going down that, and he was we had him locked in there basically, and he's like, no, no. and we sent him flying down that hill, basically sitting on, 4 tires that would be on a push mower.
Right.
And heaven knows, I mean, I'm glad some car wasn't coming at the bottom. They would have just smashed. But we laughed and laughed and laughed. And at the bottom of it, he went over the hill and it flipped over in the grass. But it was, yeah, I don't know what brought that. Oh, well, it brought it up that you lived down that way. I lived up that way. And
exactly. That was a big hill, certainly. That was definitely unique building in a small town because that is a big hill. Certainly is.
That's a huge hill. Yeah. I mean, it's one of those, yeah, it is real big. And small town of Crane. I mean, when it snowed and school was out, man, everybody was either out sledding or watching everybody else sled. Everybody just, man, his times were so much different. Everybody just, it was way different. I said I wanted to go to the homecoming game Friday night, but I did put a thing on Facebook that said if there's any of the guys, the ball players are out there that are going to go, let me know because I'd like to see all of you guys. But I haven't heard anything from anybody. Now the weather's, I don't know, the weather may be bad, and it's
been troubling because of that, definitely.
Yeah, and I'm supposed to do that Valentine's thing down in Cape Fear on Saturday, and I talked to my friend from Silver Dollars, Carrie Chester, that runs the Eagles Lodge. I said, so are we going to do that Saturday? I go, the weather, I mean, you never know. They can say it's going to get bad, and then, oh, well, that went to the north of us or whatever.
Right.
And he was so funny because he wrote back, because he's a big Chiefs fan. He wrote back, well, if the weather's not any better than the ball game was, we'll probably just cancel the whole year. So I don't know what's going to happen with that. I mean, I really don't look forward to driving my van around the curves and corners through Reed Springs all the way to Cape Fear, especially if the weather's kind of bad.
Right.
Now, down there at the end of the night, they've got homes and they probably all got places to go. And I've got like 30, 45-minute drive to the back where I'm going home. And some of those roads down in there, if you went off the road, they wouldn't fine you for a month. I mean,
they wouldn't. They definitely wouldn't.
Yeah, but they said as of right now, that's as planned. So,
all right, well, that's good.
I've had my karaoke stuff out to see if I still remember how to do it. That's haven't done any since probably a year ago. And of course, you did it so much, it's just impounded in your brain. I mean,
Right.
you know how to do it, and it's plus down there it's an Eagles lodge. You get about 3 or 4 people singing, and everybody else is just drinking, having fun. So it's
Right.
but that's my
Now, not
agenda.
to get off the subject of the podcast, I want to talk about the stuff that I'm doing for the podcast with my dad, and that's available on heroesandmiracles.org. And I just want to say that I've got a really good, really inspiring story about my dad and the meaning of that silver star, that bronze star that he won. And I really think that I'm doing the last 2 episodes probably later tonight, but people need to tune in and subscribe to that because everybody will enjoy that. And definitely anybody that knew dad will definitely enjoy that thing. And as we've learned, he influenced a lot of people. He had a lot of friends, definitely did.
He did. He had tons of. He knew the whole town. And your dad, he
Absolutely.
was just kind of in his own way, kind of a quiet guy, just kind of
Certainly. Completely
easy,
quiet. Yes.
easy going. And he was, and I didn't know till I'd seen some stuff on him on here about him being, yeah, in the military and stuff like that.
Right.
I didn't realize it. My dad had a cousin tell me my dad was in the Korean War, and he was telling me somewhere where there's a big wall. It's maybe in Arizona somewhere. I don't know what it is, but a relative of ours that that was excuse me, that was in the service somehow. Anyway, my dad's name is etched in the stone up there and all,
Right.
which was pretty cool. But yeah, my dad back in those days when he went to the war, he looked kind of like Don Knotts. I mean, Barney. That's kind of what he looked like, and a lot of people called him that. But it was. But your dad, yeah, people should definitely get involved with that.
They
And
definitely should click
your
on
dad,
that free link.
well, your dad and your mom, they're both still alive and they're both going 100 mile an hour. I mean, gee,
Definitely.
you'd never know when you see them.
Other
That
than I tell you, I cannot even tell you the drop off in how dad interacts with people from last year at the time when we started the podcast to now. It's amazing to see how much worse he is. And there's no other way to say it. He's dropping off fast. And so I think he will probably go into nursing home this week. And
go,
that's
go where?
to nursing home. I mean, he's close to being out of here, definitely.
Is he really?
He
I,
totally
I would never know it by watching him.
exactly. That's
I
the
mean,
whole
anytime I've
thing.
been down by your house, he's out either raking the yard or sweeping the
Right,
driveway.
exactly. But I tell you, in this last year, even in these last months, it's been amazing to see how much he worries about the things that he doesn't even need to worry about anymore, the things that don't even exist. It's kind of it's sad, but at the same time, he's still so worried about other people, even though they don't need anybody to worry about him. He doesn't even know that.
Yeah, that's
Well,
crazy.
it's kind of amazing because they talk about people having war PTSD. Dad has worrying PTSD. He worries so much about everybody else and what they're doing and what problems he needs to solve for them. And he doesn't need to solve any. He needs to relax and let mom relax. And so that's why.
Easier said than done, probably.
No doubt about it. No doubt about that. That's entirely true. This last week has shown how ingrained it is in him to worry about things that he shouldn't worry about.
And I've often said a lot of people that worry about everybody else and make sure they're doing okay and this and that. Because I used to say, for instance, I'd always say with Robin Williams,
Right? Exactly.
I said Robin Williams was like a clown that would step out of the circus tent and have the makeup on, and he made everybody's life better and
Right.
happy, fun. But I go, sometimes the clown, when he steps back in to take off the clown makeup, sometimes it's, and we don't realize, but it's who's there for them. And
Exactly.
sometimes we're missing out because we don't do enough I'm sure your dad, since you had your medical stuff, I'm sure he's worried crazy about you
Well,
because
I really doubt that he even knows about that because
really,
he knows nothing. And so that's what I'm saying. You know,
well, that's
he's
good.
it's gone off that deal. And I just think that he doesn't need to worry about me at all. He doesn't need to worry. That's the whole deal. And that's the point of the podcast. You don't need to worry.
My dad would have loved these years. My dad died really young, and
Right. How old was
he,
he?
well, I think he was in his 60s. I forget exactly what it was,
Ah,
but it was. I mean, he loved to gamble. He loved to play cards. He liked wrestling. He liked to watch wrestling and races, and and everything is so advanced now. I mean, gee, just roll the dice and pick a casino to go to. Uh,
absolutely. Those
Darren
things
and
were
Sheila,
on.
they were on the way. They took some relative back out to Tulsa. Now they were headed back to Springfield, and they were out. They were between Tulsa and Joplin. I said, well, "You guys always want to go to the casino?" I go, "There's
There's
one
one
right
every
there
month.
in Miami, right there, or Miami." Anyway,
Yes.
there's one right there, downstream or whatever. I said, "You
Yeah.
guys ought to just stop there." And they said, "Well, we heard that the weather, tonight, the weather might start getting bad."
Sure.
So
Ah,
yeah, so they said, well, they ought to just get home. But my dad, oh my God, my dad, when I lived in Nashville, he'd have been in Tunica every weekend probably. Uh, we used to love to go to Tunica. We'd go down there. We call it casino hopping. I mean,
okay.
we'd go to this one for a couple hours, then we get in the car and we go to another one, then we go to another one, we go to another one. And
Yes.
my dad loved all those things. He loved life so much,
Yes.
and it was so sad when he went. I mean, it was, but
Definitely.
he would have loved nowadays. Oh my gosh, uh, I mean, the way he watched wrestling and all that stuff. Oh, if we'd been in Nashville, if he'd known I was at Dixie Carter's house doing her parties,
Right.
he'd been right there. He'd be, let me carry some stuff for you. Let me go. And he'd tell me in the kid band, he goes, so you're playing in Kansas City this weekend, right? I go, yeah. You know, he'd get one of his buddies. We'll be there. We'll be up.
Right.
And they'd come up, it'd be a huge bar down in West End or whatever down in there where the age group was anywhere from it might have been 18 to 30 or
Right.
whatever,
Wow.
you know, and there's my dad and some Raymond Lauer or somebody over there in the corner, just hanging out. But
Yes.
I could have been in Florida and he had a drove there. And, but he loved life so much. And that, nowadays I'm just like, oh my gosh, he had a blast being alive. Back in those days, if you wanted to play cards, they'd all meet at such somebody's house in Aurora or Marionville or somewhere. They had, some guy would have poker at his house that night, and they'd all go there. And I could
Sure.
always tell late at night if my dad, if he was really quiet when he came in, had a bad night. But if he came in, hey, Mike, yep, he'd fan out the money, go, had a good night tonight. And yeah, well, I didn't know your dad was that. That's, it's sad, but it's not. I mean, we live our lives, and there's going to
Exactly.
be ups and downs, and as long as he looks great. Your dad looks great. I mean,
Looks great. I tell you, it's been
and you speak to him and talk, say, hey, and he's just, that's a shocker. I'd have never
that's the
thought.
deal. And that's the deal. You'll see in the podcast. I'll be able to tell the story of so much of what my dad means to me and what he meant to the whole community. Because that's been so fun to hear everybody talk about how much dad means to them. I mean, how cool is that? I do not have the dad was bad. I have nothing but positive influences and positive feelings about my dad.
A lot,
Absolutely.
a lot of people don't have that. I mean, there's dads. I mean, Darren and Sheila. I mean, they're raising their grandson
Right.
because the wife and the dad couldn't get along. I guess
Right.
they got divorced before she passed away, and so he just stayed away from his kid
Uh-huh.
and doing the whole thing. He'd get a girlfriend, and then the girlfriend want to move to this state, and they'd
Right.
move there. and the little kid didn't want to and didn't want to leave his school and this and that. So now they they've got a problem. I think they're raising the kid. He's 8 years old or 9.
Right.
He lives there. Of course, their grandparents, they give it everything he wants.
Right.
And guy's own room, and he's a kid. He just stays on the iPad. That's what he does. I'm like,
Right.
you guys got to get him out doing some other stuff. I don't care what, just something to get away from that sometimes. But now his dad misses that time that he spent with him. So
Yes.
the dad has moved in.
You don't ever get that back. That's important to say. You never get that back.
Well, the dad's moved in with all of them now.
Right.
And the boy likes his dad, and they share the room together. And I'm like, I told Sheila and Darren, you guys are heading for some trouble here. Just as in, the point's going to come when the dad wants his son back with him.
Yes.
And you guys aren't going to want to do that, and you're all under the same roof right now. So what I'm saying is, when we were talking about dads, there's a dad that didn't pay any attention to his son.
Right.
And the son started to get a little older. And then all of a sudden,
not your dad or my dad, either one, because we had great dads and we always like to honor them and support them.
Tracy on mobile.
Phone call. I'll call him back in a little bit. Just let it ring.
But I'll use this time to say, if you've not signed up or subscribed to the podcast on that, go to heroesandmiracles.org, because that is a project, and you're going to be really surprised about the last two episodes how much of a miracle story that is, because it is a hero and a miracle story. Definitely.
Well, okay.
Yes. If you haven't subscribed to that, you need to.
Now, I did get my results back from my MRI. They called me this morning.
And?
Well, it's not what I'd like, but it could have been way worse.
Okay.
They did find infection.
Right.
Of course, medical terms are internal disease. I mean, I've found that you got infection down there. Okay, that's an internal disease because my doctor he's not going to meet with me this Friday. He's going to wait till next Tuesday. So it's nothing terrible bad, or else they'd be getting me in there tomorrow. Now, and he also said there's an internal disease doctor that's going to meet with I don't know when that's going to happen, but the nurse told me what he's going to do on Tuesday. He's going to go down in that wound, down in there where it's hard to see what's, where he's wondering why that's not healing like it should.
Right.
It's healing, but not like it should. And he's going to take a little biopsy, take a piece of that down in there, and send it to the lab or whatever. And she said, I said, just as long as you're not taking my leg or anything. She goes, oh, no, nothing like that. She goes, he's going to send that. It's kind of like this. Everybody's got their thing that they do. My wound doctor, that's what he does, is work on the wound. He's got an infection down there, so he's going to take that and send it over to a lab and let them tell him, well, here's what you got. Here's the type of antibiotics you need. Here's how you need to treat that and this. And she goes, that's basically what's happening there. And as I said, I met with internal whatever doc whenever I left Springfield. That was September, 1st of October. Right. And they did blood work and everything. And they called me up and said they didn't need to see me anymore. I was okay. So I don't think this is bad. I think you can take it ever how you want it. I think it's like, if we don't do something down in there, we're not going to get that to heal.
Right.
So we got to get down in there, take a little biopsy, take a piece of it, find out what's in it. What are we dealing with? So, that's not what I would like. And then my other doctor, I guess probably as soon as she got the word that I did an MRI, she sent in for me to go do blood work or do lab work today, just blood work. And they said that was checking my iron in my body. And so I'm sure my physical doctor, so I'm sure she's like, whoa, he did the MRI, and here's what. Okay, I better have you go do some blood work, do my end of the job, what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yes.
So it was kind of a busy day as far as that stuff goes. Um, but this all started September 1st with my foot. I just wanted to say real quick. This is 6 months later or whatever. I'm
Right.
doing well. There's no infection going up my leg. There's no redness. There's no
Right.
there's no pain. So I think when we try to figure it out and we try to judge it, we're stepping over our boundaries a little bit.
Well,
I mean, you
definitely. But now, for the last 5 minutes of the show, tell me about your birthday. What are your birthday plans for tomorrow?
my birthday plans. I think I gotta go get my foot wrapped at 11.
All right.
Everywhere I was at today, the outpatient thing to get the blood, they go, okay, your name, Michael Reed, your birth date, February tomorrow, 1957.
Right.
They go, that's right, your birthday is tomorrow, isn't it? I go, yeah. Everybody told that. And I'm probably just going to go get my foot wrapped and probably just go somewhere and sit and eat something. I don't know.
What do you like? What would you want?
In and out of the car. She gets in and out of the car really slow and really. I mean, if I was to go to like, just off the top of my head, a pizza buffet or something,
Right.
first thing I got to do is go fill all the plates and, get her to the table and fill all the plates and take them all to her. And it's a workout before I ever get to go get a plate. Now, I don't mind it. It's fine. It's kind of like I used to always refer to the song, He Ain't Heavy, He's My Brother.
Right, exactly.
But tomorrow I may just go get my foot wrapped, and it'll be the middle of the day. Just go stop, and no big plans. Like I said, I got some AirPods here, so and I stopped at Best Buy today. I go, they got the little thing where you're supposed to touch them twice to do this and twice. I go, I don't know if I'm touching too hard or not hard enough or need to do the light, or I go, just little questions because they're new. And the guy told me, just get online with the Geek Squad and line you up an appointment. It's free. He said at the most it'd be 30 minutes is as long as they go. But bring your AirPods in and your phone, and they will show you exactly what you're doing, and they'll show you all these little tips and tricks that you can do with all this. So you think it's really cool and have fun. So that'll probably be part of my birthday tomorrow. And I don't know, Christmas and birthdays, if I see something, I'm liable to go, well, I think maybe I should buy that for my birthday.
Exactly.
But I don't think that's going to see what's cell phones due tomorrow. Gas is due for the house. So I'm probably going to spend a day paying some bills, and I did order a magic trick. That's pretty cool.
Hell, that's cool.
But it's my birthday. It's really neat. It's these like a blue square and a blue square, and if you open them up, it's a clear in the middle that you can put something down in if you want to. So this is empty, and you just fold and set it down. You take a deck of cards, fan it out, and you say, "Here, Dale, pick a card." You pull out a card, and I say, "Okay, show everybody. Put it back in the deck." Okay, what was it? It's the King of Spades. So you pick up this thing and blow on it or whatever you want to do, and open it, and then there's a big jumbo King of Spades. Whatever card you pick is jumbo it's inside it. And it's a real simple trick. I don't know how it works. I can usually figure out how the stuff works, but that's a cool little trick to have at kids' parties or something. I mean, you can put a handkerchief in it, and when you open it up, it's gone. Or you can put a red handkerchief, and you open it up, and now the handkerchief's blue. Or you can put their card might be the 7 diamonds, and so you open it up, and it's got a 10 of spades. You go, there's your card, and they go, no, my card's 7 diamonds. Really? So you turn around, look at the back of the card, and you turn around, now their card's there. So I'm like, man, it doesn't matter how simple that is. It's pretty cool. So
that sounds very cool.
Birthday, I'm not going to do much anything.
Tomorrow is Mike's birthday.
Yeah.
And let's make sure to give him a lot of love. And also share the podcast, share this video stream, share it everywhere. Thank you, Don Skaggs, for suggesting that. Talk to you tomorrow.
Thanks.